She was 7 months pregnant, out of options, and walking barefoot through the ruins of an abandoned schoolhouse from 1906 just looking for a place to rest. But when the floorboards cracked beneath her, revealing a staircase hidden under a century of dust and silence, her desperation became discovery. What lay beneath wasn't just a forgotten passage, it was a secret that had waited decades to be found. And it would change not only her fate, but the future of the child she carried. Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. And if this kind of emotional journey speaks to you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow's episode is even more haunting than this one. The wind pressed through broken window panes like it was searching for someone. Dust curled in the shafts of late afternoon light that slanted across the long-abandoned classroom, falling in soft patterns on rusted desks and forgotten chalkboards. Lily stood barefoot at the doorway, her hand resting protectively on her swollen belly, her younger sister Eva clutching her side. The old schoolhouse hadn't seen life in decades, but it felt strangely intact, as if time had simply stepped outside for a moment and forgotten to return. "Are you sure this is safe?" Eva whispered, eyes wide as they adjusted to the dimness. Lily didn't answer right away. Her breath was shallow, not from the climb up the hill, but from everything that had led them here: the eviction, the missed calls from shelters, the long walk with no destination. This place, this building forgotten by the world, was the first structure they'd seen in miles. "Safe enough," she finally replied, her voice steadier than she felt. They moved quietly past desks, etched with initials long turned to ghosts. A tattered flag still hung beside the chalkboard, barely clinging to the wall. Lily eased herself into the teacher's chair at the flag, front of the room, its wood creaking in protest. Eva wandered toward the tall windows, pressing her hand against the glass, watching the trees sway like they were whispering secrets. It was too quiet. Not peaceful, just waiting. Lily closed her eyes for a moment, her fingers tracing slow circles over her belly. The baby kicked softly, as if nudging her to stay alert. She smiled faintly, despite the ache in her back and the fatigue pooling behind her eyes. "It's okay," she murmured to herself. "Just one night." Then the floor creaked, but not under her. It came from the back of the room. Eva turned sharply. "Did you hear that?" Lily nodded, slowly rising. She moved toward the far corner of the room, where the old wooden floor had bowed inward, warping in uneven waves. A large patch was dustier than the rest, almost like it had been disturbed recently. She knelt down, wincing, and pressed her palm against the planks. "Lily, be careful." The wood shifted. With a sudden, hollow snap, the boards collapsed beneath her hand. Lily jerked back as a plank tumbled into darkness, revealing a hidden opening beneath the schoolhouse, a black void where earth and air met, and the scent of old soil drifted upward like breath from a forgotten grave. They stared into the hole together. Eva leaned closer, eyes wide. "What is that?" Lily didn't speak. She couldn't. She was no longer thinking about shelter or rest. Something else had taken hold of her, something older, deeper, and impossible to explain. Because down there, in that still and secret dark, she didn't feel afraid. She felt expected. Lily lit a match. The flame flickered in the draft rising from below, casting shaky light into the chasm. What she saw wasn't just dirt, it was stairs. Stone steps, carved and narrow, descending into the earth with a strange precision that felt too intentional to be coincidence. Eva clung to her arm. "You're not actually thinking of going down there, are you?" Lily's match burned low. She dropped it into the darkness and watched the glow tumble until it vanished around a bend. Then she looked at her sister, 10 years old, too brave for her age, and too small to protect herself if things went wrong. "I have to check," she said quietly. "If there's something down there, food, tools, even just space, we'll be safer than out here." A silence hung between them. Eva nodded, but her hand didn't let go. With effort, Lily pushed aside more broken boards, widening the opening until she could sit at the edge and lower herself onto the first step. The stone was cold and damp, like it had been waiting underground for generations. She held out her hand. "Come with me, please." Eva hesitated, then followed. The descent was quiet, except for the soft tap of bare feet on stone. The air grew cooler the deeper they went, but it wasn't the kind of cold that chilled the skin. It was the kind that seemed to hush everything inside you. The stairs curved, hugging the wall of what appeared to be a tunnel. Carved bricks lined the passage, some crumbling at the edges, others still sharp with corners untouched by time. Finally, the steps ended in a small antechamber, and ahead of them stood a door. It was wooden, reinforced with iron bands, and a large brass knob dulled with age. Lily reached out. The metal was warm. Not just room temperature warm. She exchanged a glance with Ava, whose eyes were round with uncertainty. When Lily turned the knob, the door opened without resistance. What waited on the other side took their breath away. A classroom, but not the one above. This one was underground, fully intact, lit dimly by oil lanterns mounted on the walls, their flames steady and unwavering. Desks were arranged in neat rows. An American flag stood in the corner. A blackboard stretched across the front, clean except for a faint outline of cursive letters. The air smelled faintly, of paper, ink, and something else like lavender, faded and old. "Is this new?" Eva asked, stepping inside. "No," Lily whispered. "This is old. Very old." But it was untouched, preserved, like someone had closed the door and sealed it against time. On the teacher's desk sat a single object. A small locked chest, dark wood, polished, despite the dust. Something about it called to Lily, not with sound, but with presence. They weren't just under a schoolhouse, they were inside something sacred. Lily ran her fingers along the smooth grain of the chest. It was no larger than a suitcase, but something about it felt heavier than its size should allow, not in weight, but in meaning. The lock was old, brass, shaped like a small lion's head, with a keyhole in its open mouth. She tried lifting the lid, but it didn't budge. Of course, it would have been too easy. Eva wandered between the desks, her footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust carpeting the floor. She ran a finger along one of the chairs and wrinkled her nose. "It's like a museum," she said. "Why would someone build a school down here?" Lily didn't answer. She wasn't sure the question had an answer. The oil lamps lining the room gave off a soft orange glow that somehow didn't flicker, even though no one had lit them. They just burned. And the silence, it wasn't oppressive. It was reverent. As though this room wasn't forgotten but protected. She reached for the teacher's drawer and gently tugged it open. It slid, with a quiet groan. Inside were yellowed sheets of paper, neatly stacked. A small, cloth-bound book rested on top. Lily lifted it with both hands, the way one might cradle a fragile artifact. The cover was embossed with faded gold letters. Clara Wren, 1911. "A journal," Lily murmured. Eva stepped closer, peeking over her sister's arm. "Who's Clara?" Lily opened to the first page. The ink was still legible, though the script was ornate and flowing, like someone who had learned to write when penmanship was still an art. The 3rd of March, 1911. Today, the children sang for the first time since the incident. Their voices were small, but steady. The underground classroom is holding up. I only pray no one finds us. The world above grows colder, angrier. I can only protect them if I remain hidden. Lily's eyes widened. She flipped through the pages. Dozens of entries followed. Some mundane lessons, meals, quiet celebrations. Others, darker. The 17th of April, 1911. I heard shouting in the trees again. Someone knows. I've moved the entrance rug to better conceal the hatch. I've instructed the older boys to carry water from the spring at night. We must last the summer. Eva clutched Lily's arm. "This is real," she whispered. It was. A teacher had lived here, taught here, protected her students from something or someone dangerous. And she had written it all down. But it didn't feel like the past. It felt alive, present. Lily gently turned another page and stopped. Something was wedged inside a thin strip of fabric with numbers stitched into it. 1429. A code? A date? She tucked it back into the journal, her mind already racing. We should go back up, Eva said, her voice trembling now. We shouldn't be here. Lily shook her head slowly. We're not just trespassing, Eva. We were brought here. Eva frowned. By who? Lily looked around the glowing room. By whoever kept this place alive. The air shifted then barely, but enough for both of them to feel it. A gentle breeze moved through the underground room, though there was no visible vent or crack. It carried the faintest scent of lavender. And something else. Old chalk, maybe. Or memory. Lily set the journal back on the desk. Her hands were trembling. This place wasn't abandoned. It had waited. And now, it was awake. That night, they stayed in the hidden room. Lily laid out her coat beneath the berry-sit blackboard and propped herself up against the wall, one hand always resting on her belly. Eva curled beside her, the journal clutched to her chest. Neither spoke for a long time. There was a reverence in the air that quieted everything, thoughts, fears, even the hunger that had been gnawing at them for days. Eventually, Eva's breathing slowed into sleep. But Lily remained awake, the journal open again in her lap, her eyes scanning every word like they might explain why she'd been drawn here. Why this place? Why now? The 10th of May, 1911. Peter collapsed during spelling today. I fear the damp is affecting their lungs. I've opened the lower passage to the west, hoping the air might flow better. God help me. I never meant for this to last so long. The entries grew shorter as the pages went on, more frantic, smudged, written in pencil when ink ran dry. The 3rd of June, 1911. One of the men from the town came near the schoolhouse again. He knows something. I saw his boot print beside the hatch. I've moved the children deeper. If anything happens to me, I pray someone finds this. Please remember us. Lily turned the page. The next entry was just a name. Eliza, age 7, fever rising. She swallowed hard and looked at Eva. 7. It wasn't just a journal. It was a witness. A small box sat beside the teacher's desk. Lily hadn't noticed it earlier. It was carved with delicate flowers along the top, now darkened by time. She opened it. Inside, folded slips of paper, hand-drawn portraits, likely from the children. Crude pencil sketches. Smiling faces. Names scribbled underneath. Joseph, Lily, Bernard, Clara. Her own name stopped her. Coincidence, surely. But still, it stilled her breath. In the bottom of the box, a photograph, a real one. Sepia-toned, a woman in a long skirt and blouse, standing in the very classroom where Lily now sat. Students sat in rows behind her, their eyes too blurred to read. The teacher looked directly into the camera, one hand resting on the desk. Not smiling. But not afraid either. Lily flipped it over. A note in faint pencil. To the one who finds this. We mattered. Remember us. A lump rose in her throat. She'd come looking for shelter. Instead, she had found a mausoleum of memories, preserved not in stone, but in intention. A teacher had carved out a place in history, not with fame, but with quiet, determined love. She had built this chamber not for herself, but for her students, for their survival, for their dignity. And somehow, through time and silence and fate, Lily had arrived here. A woman with a child of her own, standing where another woman once fought to protect hers. Lily closed the box gently, pressed her forehead against her knees. It wasn't just that she believed it now. It was that she felt it. She was meant to find this place. And whatever unfinished business Clara Wren had left behind, Lily would carry it forward. The morning came slowly underground. There were no windows, no sunrise, only the steady amber glow of the lanterns that never burned out. Lily had tried to extinguish one before bed, turning the knob down until the flame vanished, but when she woke, it had relit itself. No smell of smoke, no sign of ignition, just a soft light, waiting. Eva was still sleeping, curled on a pile of coats, arms tucked under her chin. Lily stood slowly, her back aching, and walked the perimeter of the room. Her bare feet made no sound on the stone floor. She touched the walls, traced their seams. They weren't rough like rock or brick. They were finished clean, measured, deliberate. There was more than one door. The first she found behind a faded tapestry that hung from a rod near the back. It opened into a narrow hallway, colder than the room behind. She hesitated, then stepped forward. The tunnel was barely wide enough for one person. Her hand skimmed the wall for balance. The air smelled of old soil and candle wax. She walked until she found a turn, then another, then footprints. She stopped dead. Not her own. These were deeper, larger. Boots. Her breath hitched in her throat. They were fresh. Not weeks old, but maybe days. And not just one set. 2, maybe 3. She backed away slowly. Her hand brushed something metal embedded in the wall, a rusted hook, and beside it, something more recent. A wire. Black, thin, tucked behind a stone. Electricity? She followed it with her fingers, tracing its path along the wall, until it disappeared into a corner she hadn't noticed. A door. This one steel, half concealed by shadow. Locked. Lily returned to the classroom quickly, every step faster than the last. Eva stirred as she entered, rubbing her eyes. "Where were you?" "Just looking around," Lily said gently, kneeling beside her. "There's more to this place than we thought." Eva sat up. "I heard someone whispering last night," she said suddenly. Lily froze. "What did they say?" "I don't know. I thought maybe it was you." She glanced toward the chest, still on the desk. But it sounded like a child. A girl. Lily took her sister's hand. This place was full of children once. Maybe it still remembers them. Eva shivered but nodded. Together, they explored the other side of the room. Near the base of the chalkboard, they found a row of loose stones. Lily pressed one and felt it shift. With a little force, it popped forward, revealing a cavity shallow, about the size of a shoebox. Inside, a cloth bundle. Lily unwrapped it. Inside was a map, hand-drawn, yellowed, marked with red lines. Tunnels, rooms, cross-sections of the underground network they were standing in. One was labeled in delicate cursive, "Safe room." Another, "Spring well." But in the bottom right corner, a symbol, a key. And next to it, in newer handwriting, definitely not from 1911, a note scrawled in blue ink. "If you find this, you're not alone. Be careful. He comes at night." Lily's pulse thudded in her ears. The footprints, the wire, the locked steel door. This place wasn't just preserved. Someone else had been here, recently. And they weren't just passing through, they were watching. Lily couldn't shake the feeling that the room was listening. She sat at the desk with the map spread before her. Clara's journal open to the last pages they hadn't read yet. Eva was behind her, slowly drawing with a nub of chalk she'd found, sketching quiet circles on the slate board like it helped her think. But every few seconds, Lily caught herself glancing at the steel door down the tunnel. The one she hadn't opened. The one that felt like it had a heartbeat. "Lily?" Eva called. "Look." Lily stood and walked to her. Eva had stopped drawing. Her hand hovered near a faint set of markings not her own. Not chalk either. These were scratched in, just beneath the blackboard's ledge, where the wood met stone. At first glance they looked like gibberish, but then Lily saw it. A. Cipher. 14. 2. 9, she muttered. The same numbers from the journal bookmark. She ran her fingers along the bottom of the blackboard and felt a groove. A tiny indentation. Her pulse quickened. She pressed. The blackboard clicked. It didn't open, not at first, but the entire panel slid sideways with a low grind, revealing a hidden alcove in the wall. Inside was a small safe, the kind you'd expect to find in a bank, dust-covered but untouched, and beside it, an envelope. Lily opened the envelope first. Inside were documents old, but not ancient. A title deed. A property claim. Names she didn't recognize. One jumped out. Clara Wren, guardian of 13 minors. But it was stamped, with a cancellation mark from 1920. The claim had been denied. Lily turned to the safe. The keypad was old-fashioned. Rotary dials, No digital screen. 14, 2, 9, she whispered. The lock clicked. The safe opened. Inside, layered in a velvet-lined tray, were 3 items. First, a worn revolver. Cold, heavy, polished with use, not display. Second, a black and white photograph, folded neatly. Clara again, this time standing beside an unknown man in a deputy's uniform, his face scratched out. And third, a stack of uncashed bearer bonds, yellowed but crisp, dozens of them, thousands of dollars, maybe more, dated 1910, transferable to whoever held them. Lily's breath caught. What is it? Eva asked behind her. Money, Lily said softly. A lot of it. She sat slowly, staring at the photo. Who was the man beside Clara? And why erase his face? The journal offered no answers. But tucked behind the safe was a final page, handwritten, newer, and unsigned. They took everything from her. The school, the claim, the children. But she never gave them the satisfaction of finding this room. If you are reading this, you are her answer. Use what she left. Protect what remains. The others will come looking. Don't let them in. Lily folded the note and slipped it into her pocket. This place wasn't just a sanctuary. It was a secret Clara had died to protect. And now, it belonged to them. Lily didn't sleep that night. Even though she tried to close her eyes, her ears stayed sharp, listening for footsteps, for the shuffle of stone, for whispers in the dark that no longer seemed like echoes of the past. They were real. They were near. The room didn't feel empty anymore. Not like it had when they arrived. The lanterns flickered once around midnight. Just once. Not from a draft, there wasn't one. It was like someone had passed between them. Eva stirred, still half asleep, and whispered, I hear them again. Lily sat upright. Who? The children, Eva murmured. They're laughing, but sad. Lily pressed a hand to her chest, trying to slow the thudding. Go back to sleep, she whispered, though she knew neither of them would. Instead, she sat by the safe again, staring at the revolver. She hadn't touched since opening it. She hated guns, hated what they represented. But here, in this strange sacred place, it didn't feel like a weapon. It felt like a warning. The journal's final pages were no longer entries. They were names. Just names. Dozens. Written in neat cursive. Some had a small cross beside them. Others a star. And beside a few, nothing at all. She didn't know what they meant, but she knew they mattered. And then, around 3 a.m., came the knock. Not loud, not pounding, just a soft, deliberate tap from the ceiling, above the floorboards of the schoolhouse. 3 knocks. Then silence. Lily froze. Eva bolted upright. Was that? Don't move, Lily whispered, crawling to the far corner where the trapdoor had opened days before. She crouched beneath the hatch, holding her breath. Another knock. Then the sound of slow footsteps pacing above, back and forth. Deliberate. Not random, not panicked. Whoever it was, knew they were. Down here. Lily returned to Eva and pulled her close, speaking barely above a breath. If anything happens, we go through the tunnel. The map says it leads to a spring and a second exit. Eva's eyes welled. I don't want to leave you. You won't, Lily promised. Not unless we have to. Then something new. A voice. Low. Male. Muffled by wood and dirt, but clear enough to make out. Hello? The voice called gently. I'm a local historian. Name's Arlen. I've been researching this place for years. Lily stayed silent. I saw the boards disturbed. I mean no harm. If anyone's down there, please. I just want to talk. Silence. Lily's thoughts churned. Arlen. The name wasn't familiar. Historian? Maybe. But how had he found the hatch? There were no signs above. Nothing obvious, unless he'd been here before. A pause. Then his voice again. I can help you. Please. There's more beneath that school than you understand. Secrets. Worth saving. Then footsteps. He was leaving. Eva gripped Lily's arm. "Are we safe now?" "No," Lily whispered. "We're not." She waited until dawn. When the light finally began to leak through cracks in the ceiling above, she emerged into the ruined schoolhouse, revolver hidden in her coat pocket, every nerve alight with unease. The classroom was empty. But near the door, footprints in the dust. Fresh, heavy, leading in and out. But also beside the old teacher's desk, scratched in with a knife. "I'll be back. Let me in." Lily didn't wake Eva that morning. She packed quietly, gathering what little they had water from the underground jug near the tunnel wall. Half a crust of bread Eva had saved, the map, the bonds, Clara's journal, and the gun. She hated it, but she held it anyway. By the time Eva stirred, Lily had already sealed the hatch shut again, covering it with the old rug that had once kept Clara's students safe. The trapdoor creaked a little when stepped on, but to an untrained eye, it looked like part of the crumbling floor. Lily smiled gently. "We're going to stay in the classroom today." Eva rubbed her eyes. "Is it morning already?" "Yes. And someone came back last night." Eva's expression fell. "The man?" Lily nodded. "He says he's a historian. But I don't trust anyone who shows up in the dark without knocking on the front door." Eva looked down at her hands. "Do we have to leave?" Lily hesitated. "I don't want to, but we need to be ready if we do." The day passed in tense silence. Lily listened for every creak, every crow outside, every shift of wind against the building's bones. She spent the afternoon deciphering more of the map. There were 3 other rooms marked besides the classroom and the tunnel: a spring well, a supply depot, and something labeled Watchtower. Watchtower? There were no towers above ground. Not anymore. And then, just before dusk, a knock on the door. Not the hatch this time. The front door. The one upstairs. 3 soft taps. Then the same voice, calm and honeyed. "Lily," it said. "I know your name." Her blood turned to ice. "You and your sister don't have to be afraid," the man continued. "I've studied Clara Wren's work. I know what she built. You found her sanctuary. That's good. It means you're meant to carry it forward." Lily didn't answer. "You found the safe, didn't you?" he added. "The bonds? That's okay. They belong to whoever holds them. That's the law of bearer paper." A pause. "I just want to see the room. That's all. You don't even have to talk." Lily stood motionless in the dark beneath the hatch. Then, slowly, she climbed the stone stairs back to the trapdoor and placed her ear against the floorboards. She could hear his breath. He was crouching, right above her. "Open the door, Lily," he whispered. Then came the sound of metal scraping, clicking. He had tools. Lily backed away fast, heart racing, grabbing Eva's hand. "Go," she whispered. "Now." They ran toward the tunnel, the map clenched in Lily's fist. Behind them, the wood creaked. A crowbar clanged. He was coming through. They didn't look back. The tunnel was colder now, the air wet and tight. Stones dripped. Something scurried in the shadows. Eva's breath came in quick bursts. The tunnel forked. Lily checked the map. Depot left. Well, right. They turned left. And after 20 more steps, they found it a steel door, slightly ajar. Inside, a room lit by faint electricity. Generators, old supplies, a cot, shelves of food, a radio, a water tank. A light buzzed softly overhead. Eva gasped. "We're safe?" Lily closed the door behind them and locked it. "For now," she said, chest rising and falling. But she knew better. Safe didn't mean alone. The old depot hummed like a memory trying to stay awake. A faint light bulb swung above them, swaying, slightly though there was no wind. The air smelled of rust and metal polish. Everything was old, but intact like it had been used not long ago. Along the back wall sat 2 thick file cabinets, and beside them, an old army cot with folded blankets. A small electric heater buzzed near the corner, wired into a battery system on a nearby shelf. Lily ran her hand along the shelf of food: canned beans, rice, dried meat, dates scribbled in faded marker. 2014, 2000, and 18. Some were newer. Someone had been using this room. Recently, Eva stood near the radio on the desk, her fingers brushing over the dials. Does it still work? Lily turned the knob. Static. Then a burst of a weather report. Then nothing. It works, Lily said softly, her voice nearly drowned by the whir of the old generator kicking on. She turned to the door and double-checked the lock, then pressed her ear to the cold metal. Nothing. No footsteps. No voice. Yet. She scanned the room again, her eyes catching a detail she'd missed before: a wall map pinned behind the cot. It was the tunnel system. Marked up. Highlighted in pen. Notes in neat handwriting. Depot secured. Classroom compromised. Safe house intact. Need to block hatch. She felt a chill crawl up her spine. Whoever wrote this had been tracking the schoolhouse. Knew it had been breached. Knew someone might come through. Had it been written about her? Or someone else before her? The thought tightened her throat. Eva found a flashlight and turned it on. Can we stay here? She asked. Lily wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe this steel door would hold against whatever waited back in the dark. But something told her that the man upstairs, Arlen, if that was even his name, wasn't the kind of threat that gave up easily. She unfolded the map once more and traced a line from the depot to a new label. Train tunnel, sealed end. It curved west, far beyond the edges of the known underground. There might be a way out, Lily said. But it's long. We'll need to take supplies. They packed what they could: bottled water, protein bars, a blanket, 2 flashlights, and Clara's journal. Lily placed the revolver in her waistband and kissed the street Christopher medal she'd found earlier, now hung around her neck. She didn't believe in luck, but she believed in protection. They opened the west tunnel and stepped into the narrow darkness. Behind them, the depot light flickered, then shut off. As they moved forward, the tunnel sloped downward, the air turning colder. A single set of rails ran beneath their feet: old train tracks, rusted, almost gone. They walked in silence for minutes, maybe hours. Time stretched underground. Then, light. Faint. Distant. A natural glow. They ran toward it. Around a bend, they found the tunnel's end. Collapsed rock blocked the original exit. But near it, a natural fissure in the stone revealed an opening no wider than a doorway. Beyond it, moonlight. Trees. Air. They stepped out into the night, blinking against the stars. The woods were silent. No roads. No voices. Just wind and sky. They were free. But Lily didn't feel relief. Not yet. She felt a pull. Back to the schoolhouse. Back to Clara. Something unfinished still waited there. They stayed hidden in the woods for 2 nights. The nights were cold, but not cruel. The forest was quiet, and the stars above felt older than they ever had. Lily found herself rereading the final pages of Clara's journal, curled beneath a pine tree, Eva asleep beside her. There was something she had missed. She found it in the final stitched seam of the back cover, a slip of paper folded so thin it blended into the spine. She tugged it out carefully. If you're reading this, you made it farther than most. I never wanted to build a bunker. I wanted to build a haven, for the frightened, for the forgotten. If you are the one who carries this now, I ask only one thing. Finish what I could not. Tell their stories. Let the world remember them, not as lost children, but as brave ones. Let this place be more than secret. Let it be known. Clara Wren. Lily stared at the words for a long time. She had come here running, fleeing, hiding. But Clara had built this place by standing firm. And maybe Lily could do the same. The next morning, Lily and Eva hiked to the nearest town 5 miles west. They kept their story quiet, only mentioning they'd gotten lost on an old trail and needed help. A kind woman named Maria took them in, fed them, gave them warm clothes, and asked no questions. But Lily had questions. She visited the county archives 2 days later, asking about the old Wren school. The clerk pulled out a yellowed file. Abandoned 1920. Ownership disputed. site sealed in 1974. But one photo caught Lily's eye. Clara, standing on the schoolhouse steps, students flanking her, a ghost of a smile on her lips. In the caption, Clara Wren, 1912. Final known photograph. Lily asked to make a copy. That night, she created an email account and sent a message to every regional journalist she could find. Subject line: Underground school discovered hidden for over 100 years. Attached were photos of the classroom, the journal, the map, the bonds. The message ended with just one sentence: some legacies were never meant to stay buried. The response came fast. Within a week, news crews were hiking up the hill to the ruins of the Wren School. By then, Lily had returned. Standing just outside the trapdoor, she'd reopened herself, Ava at her side. The revolver long buried, the bonds donated to restore the site. They didn't reveal everything. Some secrets stayed sacred. But the world finally learned what Clara had done. A woman who hid 13 children from a world that had turned cruel. A teacher who built a sanctuary beneath history's floorboards. And a girl named Lily, homeless, pregnant, and brave enough to listen, who found it and carried that story into the light. Months later, the town unveiled a new plaque at the schoolhouse site. Beneath Clara's name were the words Lily had chosen. She did not run. She rooted. As the baby kicked in her belly and Eva held her hand, Lily felt something settle inside her. Not just safety. Not even peace. But purpose. She wasn't a girl on the run anymore. She was the keeper of something sacred. And as she walked back down the hill, surrounded by whispers of past footsteps, she whispered quietly, "Thank you, Clara. I'll take it from here."